Right now, you have a device in your pocket that can hold every book ever written, and you still forget where you put your keys. For most of human history, there was no writing, no paper, no books, no Google. If a piece of knowledge wasn't inside someone's head, it didn't exist anymore. And somehow, people still remembered thousands of plant names, entire family lines going back 20 generations, and stories tens of thousands of lines long, word for word. Not roughly, word for word. So here's the question. If they had nothing to write with, how did they never forget? Let's start in Australia. Aboriginal Australian communities have used something called a songline for tens of thousands of years. A songline is a song that follows a real path across the land. Every hill, every waterhole, every bend in a dry riverbed gets a verse, and every verse holds real information. Where the water is, which plants are edible this month, which ones are poison, where the predators hide. Researcher Lynn Kelly spent years studying this and found that a huge amount of songline content is pure survival data, encoded into rhythm and place. Walk the song, and you're reading a map that never needs batteries. Sing the song, and you're reciting an encyclopedia. And it's not fragile. Some of these oral traditions have preserved accurate descriptions of coastlines from before sea levels rose at the end of the last ice age. That's not a memory passed down for a few generations. That's a memory passed down for over 7,000 years, still accurate. Now think about that next to your own memory. You've probably forgotten what you had for lunch on Tuesday. Here's the part that should really bother you. Kelly's research suggests that some of the biggest, strangest ancient monuments on Earth weren't temples or tombs at all. They were memory devices: Stonehenge, the long stone rows across Britain, Chaco Canyon, the Nazca Lines. Structures that have puzzled archaeologists for a century might actually be something much simpler. Physical walkthroughs. A path you follow with your body while you recite what you've memorized, using the landscape itself as a filing system. Every standing stone, a chapter. Every turn in the path, a new topic. It's a library built out of rock, designed to be walked, not read. And the wild part is, you can steal this exact trick. It's called a memory palace, and it's been used since ancient Greece and Rome. Pick a place you know perfectly, like your childhood home. Walk through it in your mind, room by room. Attach one strange, vivid image to each object you want to remember. A flaming shoe on the doormat, a giant fish in the bathtub. Weird sticks, weird works. Then, when you need the information back, you just walk the house again. This is not a theory. This is the exact technique modern memory competition champions use to memorize a shuffled deck of cards in under a minute. Ancient humans weren't naturally gifted with better brains than you. They just never stopped using the trick you've never been taught. Storytelling did the same job, at a much bigger scale. The Iliad and the Odyssey, two of the most famous stories ever told, existed as spoken performance for generations before anyone wrote them down. Reciters used rhythm, repetition, and predictable phrasing, the exact same tools rappers and songwriters still use, so the story would stay locked in place even after being passed through hundreds of different mouths. But if you want the real jaw drop, go to Central Asia. There's a Kyrgyz oral epic called the Manas. In its longest recorded version, it runs somewhere around 500,000 lines. That's roughly 20 times longer than the Iliad and the Odyssey combined. For centuries, it lived entirely inside the memory of trained reciters called maniski, passed mouth to mouth, with no written backup, no save file, no cloud storage. One mistake, one dropped generation, and the whole thing is gone forever. It wasn't written down until the 20th century. Think about carrying something that size in your head, your entire life, as your job. So here's what actually happened. Writing shows up incredibly late in the story. Compared to how long humans have been speaking, using language, telling each other where the water is, writing has existed for what amounts to a few seconds on the clock. For almost all of human history, the only hard drive available was a human skull, and people filled it with maps, medicine, family history, and stories that stretched back further than most written records we have today. Then, writing showed up and something strange happened. We didn't just gain a tool, we started quietly retiring a skill. Why memorize a plant's uses when you can write it down? Why memorize a route when you can draw it? every external memory device we've ever invented, clay tablets, paper, printing, and now a phone that remembers everything for you, solved a problem. And also let one specific muscle in your brain go soft. You are not less capable than someone born 40,000 years ago. You have the same brain. The same wiring for memory that let people hold 500,000 lines in their head is sitting inside your skull right now, mostly unused because you've never had to use it. The technique that built libraries out of stone circles is sitting in a paragraph you could apply tonight. Pick 5 things you need to remember. Pick a walk you know by heart. Attach one absurd image to each stop. Walk it in your mind before you sleep. Somewhere on this planet, right now, an elder is still walking a songline, reciting a map that has outlived every empire that ever tried to write its own history down. You've got infinite storage in your pocket, and you still can't remember a name 10 seconds after hearing it. They had nothing but memory, and they never lost a thing that mattered. Maybe the upgrade was never the tool. Maybe it was always the mind that learned to hold on. Your brain is still capable of this. The only question is, will you ever train it again?